Picture a world where metal was more precious than gold itself, where magnificent cities emerged from barren lands and powerful empires ruled the known world. Welcome to the Bronze Age, an era that shaped the destiny of humankind forever. What really happened during this fascinating period, and why did it vanish so suddenly? Between 3000 and 1200 before Christ, the Bronze Age marked a turning point in human history. This was the time when bronze, a revolutionary alloy made from copper and tin, transformed the way humans crafted their tools and weapons. As this new metal spread across the ancient world, something extraordinary began to unfold. Imagine walking through the streets of ancient Ur, where craftsmen worked their forges day and night, creating weapons that would change warfare forever. Picture the bustling markets of Babylon, where merchants traded precious metals brought from lands thousands of miles away. This was a time when the first great civilizations rose from the desert sands, when writing was born, and when humanity took its first steps toward the world we know today. But this golden age wasn't meant to last forever. The Bronze Age held secrets and mysteries that continue to puzzle historians to this day. What forces could have been powerful enough to bring down such mighty civilizations? The answer lies in a fascinating tale of innovation, power, and mystery. If you love history and want to uncover the secrets of these ancient empires, join us on this incredible journey through time. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Dawn of Humankind, and make sure you never miss an episode. Together, we'll explore the rise and fall of one of humanity's most remarkable ages, as we uncover the stories of those who lived, ruled, and vanished in the Age of Bronze. Get ready to embark on an adventure that will take you from the magnificent pyramids of Egypt to the grand palaces of Crete, from the famous hanging gardens of Babylon to the mysterious cities of the Indus Valley. This is more than just history. This is the story of how humanity transformed itself from scattered tribes into mighty civilizations. Stay with us, because the tale we're about to tell will change the way you see our past forever. It all began with an incredible discovery that would change the course of human history forever. Deep in the ancient world, someone made a remarkable observation. When copper and tin were mixed together in the heat of a blazing furnace, something magical happened. A new metal was born, bronze, stronger and more durable than anything humans had ever created before. Imagine being there at that moment, watching as the first bronze tools emerged from the forge. This wasn't just any metal. This was a revolution in human hands. Farmers who once struggled with wooden plows now had sturdy bronze tools that could bite deep into the earth. Warriors who carried simple copper weapons now wielded bronze swords that wouldn't bend or break in battle. Even the jewelry that adorned the nobles became more intricate and beautiful than ever before. The creation of bronze wasn't just about mixing two metals together. It was an art form that required incredible skill and knowledge. Ancient metalworkers were seen as masters of magic, able to transform raw earth into powerful tools and beautiful objects. They carefully guarded their secrets, passing them down from master to apprentice, generation after generation. But here's something fascinating that few people know. Tin, one of the key ingredients in bronze, was incredibly rare in the ancient world. While copper could be found in many places, tin was as precious as gold. Imagine the determination of ancient traders who traveled thousands of miles to obtain this valuable metal. They journeyed from the distant mines of Cornwall in what is now England, across treacherous seas and burning deserts, all the way to the workshops of Mesopotamia. The brave merchants ventured through the dangerous mountain passes of Afghanistan, risking their lives to bring tin to the hungry forges of the ancient cities. These epic journeys created the world's first trade networks, connecting distant lands and different cultures. Just think about it. A bronze sword found in an Egyptian tomb might contain tin from Britain and copper from Cyprus, brought together by an incredible network of traders, merchants, and craftsmen. In the workshops of ancient cities, the air was filled with the sound of hammers and the glow of furnaces. Here, master craftsmen worked their magic, creating everything from mighty weapons to delicate jewelry, from farming tools to sacred vessels for temples. These bronzesmiths were the technology pioneers of their time, constantly experimenting with different mixtures and techniques to create the perfect bronze. The Bronze Revolution wasn't just about creating better tools and weapons. It changed everything about how people lived. It led to stronger armies, more productive farms, and wealthier cities. It connected distant lands through trade and brought forth an age of unprecedented prosperity and innovation. The Bronze Age had truly begun, and with it, humanity entered a new chapter in its amazing story. As bronze tools transformed human capabilities, magnificent cities began to rise from the ancient lands, each one a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. These weren't just settlements. They were the cradles of civilization itself, where humanity's greatest achievements would first take shape. Let's journey first to Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, where the legendary city of Ur stood proud against the desert sky. Imagine walking through its streets around 2500 before Christ. You would have been amazed by its magnificent ziggurat, a massive step temple that seemed to touch the heavens itself. At its peak, Ur was home to over 50,000 people, its markets bustling with traders from lands as far away as India and Africa. Not far from Ur, the mighty Babylon rose to become perhaps the most famous city of the ancient world. Picture yourself standing before its Ishtar Gate, gleaming with brilliant blue glazed bricks and decorated with images of lions and dragons. The city's hanging gardens, built to comfort a homesick queen, were so spectacular they became one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Babylon was more than just a city. It was a symbol of human achievement, where art, science, and culture flourished under the rule of kings like Hammurabi. Moving to the banks of the Nile, we find ancient Egypt, where bronze tools made possible the construction of monuments that still amaze us today. The Great Pyramids of Giza weren't just built by manpower alone. Bronze chisels and saws were essential in cutting and shaping the massive stone blocks. Imagine the sound of bronze tools striking limestone, as thousands of workers carved out one of humanity's greatest achievements, creating structures so perfect we still can't fully explain how they did it. But perhaps the most intriguing of all was the island of Crete, where the Minoans built their remarkable civilization. The Palace of Knossos was a marvel of ancient architecture with multiple stories, complex plumbing systems, and beautiful frescoes decorating its walls. This was no simple palace. It was a maze-like complex of over 1,000 rooms, so intricate it may have inspired the legend of the labyrinth and the Minotaur. What made these cities truly remarkable wasn't just their size or their monuments. It was how they changed human society forever. For the first time in history, thousands of people lived together in organized communities. They developed new forms of government, created complex religious systems, and established laws that would influence civilization for millennia to come. These cities were also centers of innovation, where humans first began to write, where mathematics and astronomy were born, and where art flourished like never before. In their workshops, craftsmen created masterpieces in bronze, gold, and precious stones. In their temples, priests tracked the movements of stars and developed the first calendars. In their markets, merchants invented systems of trade and finance that we still use today. The legacy of these Bronze Age cities lives on, not just in their ruins and artifacts, but in the very way we live today. They were the first experiments in urban living, the first places where humans proved they could build something truly magnificent when they worked together. These weren't just cities, they were the birthplaces of civilization as we know it. While bronze was reshaping the physical world, another revolution was quietly taking place, one that would prove even more powerful than the strongest metal. This was the birth of writing, humanity's first attempt to capture thoughts and memories in a form that could last forever. Picture yourself in ancient Sumer, around 3200 before Christ. In the bustling streets of Uruk, a scribe sits with a reed stylus in hand, pressing careful marks into a clay tablet. These wedge-shaped marks are cuneiform, humanity's first writing system. What began as simple pictures to keep track of trade goods evolved into something extraordinary, a way to preserve human thought and experience across time itself. The stories these ancient scribes told still speak to us today. They wrote about kings and gods, about floods and battles, about love and death. They recorded laws like the famous Code of Hammurabi and created literature like the Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's first great story, still read and admired today. Imagine being there when these tales were first carved into clay, each tablet a piece of immortality. Meanwhile, along the Nile, the Egyptians were developing their own magnificent writing system. Hieroglyphs weren't just writing, they were art, magic, and history all in one. These beautiful symbols covered the walls of temples and tombs, telling stories that would last for thousands of years. The Egyptians believed their writing was a gift from the gods themselves, calling it Medu Neter, the words of the gods. Think about this. Before writing, all human knowledge had to be passed down through memory and spoken words. If someone discovered something important, that knowledge could be lost forever if they didn't share it before they died. But with writing, humans could suddenly preserve their thoughts, their discoveries, their stories for future generations. It was like gaining a kind of immortality. Each writing system tells us something fascinating about the people who created it. Cuneiform, pressed into clay with reed styluses, was perfect for the river valleys of Mesopotamia, where clay was abundant. Egyptian hieroglyphs, with their detailed pictures, worked beautifully on the smooth walls of temples and the papyrus that grew along the Nile. These weren't just different ways of writing, they were expressions of different ways of seeing the world. Writing changed everything about how humans lived and thought. For the first time, rulers could send messages across vast distances. Merchants could keep accurate records of their trades. Priests could preserve their sacred knowledge. And perhaps most importantly, people could begin to think about leaving a legacy that would outlive them. And here's something amazing to think about. Every time you write something today, whether it's a text message or a shopping list, you're part of a tradition that began in those ancient Bronze Age cities. You're using an invention that changed the world just as much as bronze itself, maybe even more. Speaking of amazing innovations from the Bronze Age, did you know that tin, essential for making bronze, was so valuable it was transported across trade routes thousands of miles long? If you're enjoying learning about these fascinating developments from our past, make sure to like this video and subscribe to The Dawn of Humankind for more incredible historical content. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which Bronze Age civilization fascinates you the most? Is it the systematic Sumerians, the magnificent Egyptians, or perhaps another ancient culture? Share your thoughts below. Trade was the lifeblood of the Bronze Age, creating a vast network that connected distant lands in ways never seen before. Imagine yourself as a merchant in those ancient times, leading a caravan across scorching deserts and treacherous mountain passes, carrying precious cargo that could make or break entire kingdoms. The search for bronze's crucial ingredients sparked the world's first global trade network. Copper from the mines of Cyprus, tin from distant Cornwall, gold from Nubia, and exotic spices from lands beyond the horizon. All these treasures flowed through ancient trade routes like blood through veins. Picture the bustling ports of Ugarit, where ships from across the Mediterranean would dock, their holds full of precious metals and exotic goods from faraway lands. But this wasn't just about trading goods. It was about exchanging ideas, technologies, and cultures. A craftsman in Mycenae might use techniques learned from Egyptian artisans, while wearing a robe made from Babylonian wool and carrying a sword forged with Cornish tin. This interconnected world was sophisticated in ways that might surprise us today. Yet where there is wealth, conflict inevitably follows. The same trade routes that carried precious metals and exotic goods also became pathways for armies. Kings and emperors realized that controlling these vital arteries of commerce meant controlling the lifeblood of civilization itself. Imagine the tension as rival powers watched each other's movements, each seeking to dominate the crucial crossroads and strategic ports. Some of history's first recorded battles were fought over these trade routes and resources. The mighty Hittites built their empire controlling the metal trade through Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. They guarded their ironworking secrets so jealously that stealing them was punishable by death. In Syria, the wealthy city of Ebla was destroyed and rebuilt multiple times as different powers fought to control its position on crucial trade routes. We can still read accounts of these ancient conflicts in clay tablets preserved from the time. They tell of great armies clashing over control of mining regions, of cities besieged because they commanded important river crossings, of alliances made and broken over access to precious resources. The Battle of Kadesh, fought between the Egyptians and Hittites around 1274 before Christ, was one of the largest chariot battles ever fought, all because both empires wanted to control the trade routes through Syria. These conflicts shaped the political landscape of the ancient world. Powerful kingdoms rose and fell based on their ability to control resources and trade routes. The Assyrians built their empire by dominating the trade routes between Mesopotamia and Anatolia. The Mycenaeans became wealthy and powerful by controlling maritime trade in the Mediterranean. Even the mysterious Sea Peoples, who would later help bring the Bronze Age to an end, may have originally been groups fighting for control of maritime trade routes. But perhaps most fascinating is how these ancient conflicts and trade networks shaped our world today. Many modern cities still stand where ancient trade routes crossed. The conflicts over resources and trade routes that we see in our modern world echo those of the Bronze Age. In many ways, we're still playing out the same drama that began thousands of years ago, when humans first realized the power of bronze and the wealth it could bring. Around 1200 before Christ, something extraordinary and terrifying happened, something that archaeologists and historians still debate today. Imagine watching as the mightiest civilizations the world had ever known began to crumble, one after another, like dominoes falling in slow motion. Picture yourself standing in the once great city of Mycenae. The palaces that had stood for centuries now lay in ashes. The streets that once bustled with traders were empty. The workshops where skilled craftsmen created magnificent bronze works were abandoned. This scene was repeating itself across the ancient world, from Greece to the Middle East. The collapse came with devastating speed. Within just 50 years, mighty empires that had ruled for centuries vanished. The Mycenaean palaces burned. The Hittite Empire disappeared almost overnight. Even Egypt, the Eternal Kingdom, entered a period of decline from which it would never fully recover. It was as if someone had pulled a thread that unraveled the entire fabric of Bronze Age civilization. But what caused this mysterious collapse? Like a detective story from the ancient world, we're still piecing together the clues. First came the changes in climate. Tree rings and ice cores tell us of a terrible drought that lasted for decades. Imagine watching your crops wither year after year, while the rivers that had sustained civilization for millennia began to run dry. Then came the mysterious Sea Peoples, whose true identity remains one of history's greatest puzzles. Egyptian records tell us of massive fleets of warriors who ravaged the coastlines, destroying cities and disrupting the trade routes that had been the lifeblood of Bronze Age society. These weren't just raiders, they were entire peoples on the move, desperate perhaps for new lands as their own homes suffered from the changing climate. The complex trade networks that had taken centuries to build collapsed like a house of cards. Without tin from distant lands, bronze couldn't be made. Without bronze, weapons couldn't be forged, tools couldn't be crafted, and the whole economy began to unravel. It was like watching the internet crash today. An entire system of interconnected trade and communication simply stopped working. Cities that had stood for 1,000 years were abandoned. The great palace at Knossos, which had survived earthquakes and invasions, finally fell silent. Hattusa, the mighty capital of the Hittites, was burned and deserted. The population of Greece dropped dramatically, and the art of writing was forgotten there for centuries. But here's something fascinating. This wasn't just an ending, it was also a beginning. From the ashes of the Bronze Age arose something new. The Age of Iron was dawning, and with it came new civilizations, new ways of thinking, and new forms of society. The Phoenicians would rise to command the seas, the Greeks would build their city-states, and a new chapter in human history would begin. The collapse of the Bronze Age teaches us something profound about civilization itself. Even the mightiest societies can fall when multiple crises hit at once. Climate change, mass migrations, economic collapse, and social upheaval. It's a sobering reminder that no civilization lasts forever, but also a testament to humanity's remarkable ability to rebuild and reinvent itself. Perhaps most intriguingly, some scholars today see parallels between the Bronze Age collapse and our modern world. Interconnected global systems, climate change, mass migrations. The story of the Bronze Age collapse isn't just ancient history, it's a mirror that might reflect our own future. As we reach the end of our journey through the Bronze Age, we're left with an extraordinary tale of human achievement and fragility. This wasn't just another chapter in history, it was a time that fundamentally shaped who we are today. Think about what the Bronze Age gave us. Magnificent cities that rose from barren lands, technological breakthroughs that transformed human capabilities, and the incredible gift of writing that allows their stories to reach us across thousands of years. From the towering ziggurats of Ur to the labyrinthine palace of Knossos, from the first written laws to epic tales of gods and heroes, the Bronze Age was truly humanity's first golden era. But perhaps the most valuable lesson from this remarkable period isn't found in its achievements, but in its end. Even as these civilizations reached heights of power and sophistication that wouldn't be seen again for centuries, they remained vulnerable to forces they couldn't control. Climate change, mass migrations, economic disruption, and social upheaval combined to bring down empires that had stood for 1,000 years. Looking at our world today, we might see some unsettling parallels. We too live in an age of unprecedented global connections, technological marvels, and mounting environmental challenges. The Bronze Age reminds us that civilization is both remarkable and fragile, capable of achieving incredible things, but also vulnerable to cascading crises. Yet there's hope in this story too. After the Bronze Age collapsed, humanity didn't disappear. It adapted, evolved, and eventually built something new. The Greeks, the Phoenicians, and many others would rise from the ashes of the old world to create new forms of civilization. Perhaps this is the most important lesson of all. Human resilience and creativity can overcome even the most devastating setbacks. Before we end today's journey, I want to thank you for exploring this fascinating period of history with me. If you've enjoyed learning about the Bronze Age and want to discover more incredible stories from humanity's past, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to The Dawn of Humankind. Your support helps us continue bringing these amazing historical narratives to life. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What aspects of the Bronze Age fascinate you the most? What parallels do you see between their world and ours? Join our growing community of history enthusiasts as we explore the remarkable story of human civilization. Until next time, remember that understanding our past isn't just about learning history. It's about understanding ourselves and preparing for our future. This is the dawn of humankind, where every story from our past helps illuminate the path ahead.